All right, we're back. And David and I were just kind of talking offline about just the fact that we are spending so much time, developing our own gumbo recipes, and then you just dump this thing of powder into the pot, and then it's like, oh my god. Well, my wife, she was she ended up developing a recipe for us for the restaurant, and for her to have this, I mean, she walked in the door, it's like immediately she's just like, her eyes are wide open, and not she's Asian, so when her eyes are wide open, you see it. So it was it was pretty cool to see the reaction on her face, because she loved it. She, it was like, for her it was exactly what she was wanting to do. And I guess if we had had this at the restaurant, we would have been able to. Yeah, I don't know. We probably would have been, at least consistency wise, because
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you just prep cooks are prep cooks, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you are. Whoa! What the hell? What the hell is that?
Singing in the rain for Rainy Cajun.
Oh, is this the Christmas selection? Oh, that's what it is. It's the Christmas. See, this is where I get stop playing. Okay. That's where I got turned around. I was like, I don't remember this being in the acid jazz playlist. There we go. That's better. But yeah, I mean, had we had this kind of like powder, and it's like this much, it would be, it would have been consistent every single time. And she's slaved. I mean, she slaved over those, all the recipes, she would spend hours, doing, from prepping the Trinity to doing all the stuff. Because, when you have a working kitchen, you got a bunch of other stuff going on at the same time, right? So she's got to do this, and then she got to hop over here. And it was a huge pain in the butt for her. So, yeah, she's just like, I can't believe how much time I wasted.
Well, and what you were bringing that up made me think about the fact that, as we talked about, some like before, a rite of passage or whatever you want to call it, or just pride to be able to do your own gumbos or your own etouffees even. And so a lot of times that lends us to not even try these products out there.
Right.
Because of the fact, it can't be as good as mine.
Right.
Or my mom's or something like that. And, actually when I was tasting this kind of reminded me a little bit between the consistency and the flavor profile of my mom's mother's gumbo that we would have on Christmas. Now, it's not exact, but there are hints and things in there that drew me back, that even though I've been making a pretty decent gumbo, in my opinion, for the last 10 years or so, there's things in there that reminded me of that I didn't have in mine. And so now I'm kind of, and as we talked about too, this was one of the books we highlighted last week, Amaz.
Oh, yeah.
Country Kitchen. This is the woman. Yeah. This is the woman who founded the company. So,
okay.
Sorry. I guess I need to go down. Yeah. So you can see her name.
Yeah.
So, now I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to look up her chicken and andouille gumbo recipe and see how it compares to what I've been doing with spices and such, and maybe even ratios, because
Yeah.
now I'm curious as maybe I can kind of get to that as, it's not an ideal per se, but it's got qualities that I admire and would like to replicate. And so, like I said, from that standpoint of not ever venturing out and trying, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed with us reconnecting and learning about these things is there's all these great products from Louisiana, and
Yeah.
we always see them in, if you get, like I said, Louisiana Kitchen and Culture or Louisiana Cooking magazines or
Yep.
Rouse's magazines, you see them out there and you wonder, are they any good, and why would I ever use that? And there's just various reasons, and sometimes, because as you get older too, and your family and become empty nesters and stuff,
Hmm.
if you don't want to make that much gumbo or that much etouffee, if you try a pack and you actually like it, then there's nothing wrong with that. It's still cheaper than going out to eat all the time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and there's I was laughing because when we were talking about that, um, there is some commercials that they ran on their YouTube channel, or maybe it's not their YouTube channel, but I think it was commercials that looked like they ran on television out there in Louisiana. And it was a young lady sitting across from her mother. She's spooning the gumbo. She goes, "Mom, when are you going to give me your secret gumbo recipe?" And then she goes, "There's no secret." And she opened up the pantry door, and it was one of the box of Mantha Pauls, you know. So, like I said, I think everybody ought to try it.
Yeah.
It's
If not,
investment of funds and time is not that much.
well, if nothing else, it's to give you a sense of like, okay, here you are, two two yats that we've grown up with
Yeah,
gumbo, and we know what good gumbo is, and we know what crap gumbo
right.
is, right? And we can
Yeah,
point to this and go, "This is good." And
yeah,
so, if you're willing to trust us, because we're not going
yeah,
to lead people astray. I mean,
yeah.
what good do we have in doing that? But
Right.
this gives us the opportunity to um, say, okay, this is a great baseline. So if you don't want to take it
Yeah.
anywhere else, that's fine. It is
Mhm.
really good as is. But
Yep.
if you are looking to maybe do a little bit more of this or a little bit less of that, you can start again with this as a base
Yeah.
and then make adjustments.
Yep.
It's that's the best part about this.
Yeah, and and to a certain extent too, I've heard or had conversations with people where in the last week or so we're talking about like recipes that were lost from, or you maybe even see it on Facebook. My grandmother had this great recipe for gumbo or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes what it may benefit you to do is that if you don't have that recipe or the skills, because like we talked about before, some people claim, I don't use a recipe, and that's great if you make the same gumbo every time,
Right.
and you're that consistent. But it would behoove you and benefit your descendants if they really like your gumbo to capture it in some form. But if you haven't had that opportunity, maybe you try one of these and you say, wow, that reminded me, like I just did, of
Right.
some elements of my grandmother's. So now, what is that? What can I do to make it more like hers? And then what can I do to get there? And and that's part of what we're just hoping people will get exposed to is we get exposed to it, and like I said, there's been some things we've tried and they've all been good, but some of them are a little saltier or a little
Yeah.
more peppery than I
Right.
would prefer.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that that's my taste profile.
Right.
And like Jeremy said, as we're going to keep going, as people watch more, they'll start to, if they try these things, they'll kind of zero in more on what our respective taste buds are.
Yep. Yep. And this is, I mean, when I'm sorry, I'm just chowing down here, but I'm freaking hungry.
I did it in the break.
um, but this, I was gonna try it with the hot sauce. I don't need the hot sauce. I really don't. I
No,
mean, this is good
no,
as is.
yeah,
The black pepper heat alone is more than enough to be tasty for this particular recipe. So I'm stoked. This is
yeah.
yeah. We're gonna have to get more of
And
this for sure.
I'm actually Facebook friends with Nancy Walker. I met her actually one time. So some background too. is that I didn't realize that she had some ties to my mother's side, as far as some of my mom's cousins
Huh.
worked with her in her when she was starting out in the early days, making like some of the dry roux and
Hmm.
such. And one of my mom's or one of my great uncles, my mom's uncle, one of her last ones that's around, he helped her a lot with a lot of things. So maybe
Neat.
that's why I detect some similar taste profiles. I mean, Grandma Hubble's,
Right.
I remember her gumbos, and I remember the consistency was similar in thick in viscosity
Yep.
to this one
Hmm.
than the restaurant ones. And I think there's
Yes.
the taste profiles are different. I remember she would do turkey gumbo a lot, but I just I didn't eat it as much as my other grandmothers. But anyway, Nancy, she signed that cookbook for me a couple of years ago when I met her at the boucherie,
Oh,
and so she and I talked for a bit, and she's been a really nice woman and real helpful with her stuff, and she'll occasionally do articles for Louisiana Kitchen and Culture. So I'm gonna have to tag her in and send her the links on this
absolutely.
video because I
Absolutely.
think even though she doesn't own the company anymore, I think she'd be happy to know that we're enjoying it as much as we are. So
Well, here. This is how much we're enjoying it.
that's the second bowl, by the way.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Whew, that was good. All right.
So you ready for the quiz now? Or
Sure.
you want to wait?
No. Go ahead. Hit me with it.
So I'll just read them in order, and we'll just go through it. I'll give you the question, and then I'll read all three of the answers since you don't have a copy in front of you.
Okay.
But what are the components of a modern trinity? A, onions, celery, and carrots. B, onions, tomatoes, and bell peppers. Or C, onions, celery, and bell pepper.
C.
Yes, you got
Okay.
that. All right, see, 1 for 1. You're good. Or 1-0, I should say, I guess.
Want to know?
All right, number 2.
Just looking forward to the next week. 1 week at a time.
Yeah. What are what are three traditional thickeners for gumbo? A, roux, okra, or filet. B, okra, cornstarch, or gelatin. Or C, sassafras root, ground bay leaf, or brown flour.
I would have to go with A on that one.
Yeah, there you go. You're on a roll.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to thicken it and you're too cheap to get filet powder or okra, which is pretty awful when you think about it. I'm sorry, I'm judgy. And you're gonna,
Well,
if you're
yeah,
gonna use flour to thicken something up, it's like you're just
yeah.
making it gravy.
If you look at the old recipes for gumbos, it either had the okra or the filet, and it wasn't until like the late 1800s you started seeing the introduction, at least in writing, of the roux.
Mm.
The roux is of French influence, and a lot of people say, well, the Acadians brought that. But I think nowadays you'll see a combination of the two. You'll see a roux and okra or a roux and filet,
Yeah.
but it's seldom you'll see all three of them together.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So, what region of Africa does okra come from? A, Nile Valley, B, West, or C, South?
B.
You're right. You were
All
paying
right.
attention when I talked earlier.
West
All right.
Africa.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, number 6,
Okay.
and we kind of covered this in the first part. What is the Bantu word for okra? A, gumbo, B, kingambo or kimgambo, or C, combo?
Is that C?
No, that's a trick.
Ah,
It's it's B,
that's B.
kinbambo or kingambo. But
Okay.
I thought you'd appreciate it. I threw in the gumbo as a answer for
I
the
saw that. I'm
folks.
like, that's not it. Although
Nobody
I
asked
did
me
make
about.
my own gumbo today.
Yeah,
I did make mine.
but I did explain that to the people who were in attendance taking the test that was. But it's let's say it's kingambo or queen gombo, however it's pronounced. All right, so
Okay.
that was kind of a tricky one because they were all kind of close. So What plant do we get filet from? A, the bay tree, B, sassafras tree, or C, the azalea bush?
Me. Azalea bush.
Right. Well, yeah, it's a Mobile audience, and we're known as the Azalea City, so.
Be like, oh my god. Tastes very
Yeah,
chlorophyll-y.
yeah. You gotta let it dry out a bit and let it. The which I'll have to say that I did do a. John Folse had this recipe. It wasn't with camellia leaves, but you call camellia wine. It's an old recipe where you take the flowers petals of the camellia bushes and you steep them in brandy, and like 6 months later, it's kind of like that cherry bounce we talked about.
Yeah.
And so I've got 6 or 8 camellia trees in my yard. So I said, "What the hell? I'll try it." And I made it. It was decent. I mean, I've only made it once, so it's not like I'm going to go out and do it again. but yeah, there was no leaves involved with thickening there. All right, so here's a chance. Now you might be able to get this one. What is the Choctaw term for the pulverized dried leaves that is termed filet? A, gumbo, sorry. B, kingambo, or C, combo.
Well, that one is C, correct?
Yeah, you got that one. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Boudreaux approves. All right. I mentioned this one too earlier. Is gumbo a Cajun or Creole dish in origin? A, Cajun, B, Creole, or C, neither, French?
B, Creole.
Yep. All right. So now this is getting a little bit more into some of the specialized gumbos that we would see off the beaten path. For those who only recognize the okra seafood gumbo or Creole gumbo as a gumbo, they may not recognize these, but and some of these maybe you've heard of before.
Okay.
But what is a gumbo vert, baird, or zerbs made of? A, St. Augustine grass, B, greens, or C, cabbage?
C, cabbage? Or is it
Close.
greens?
It's greens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is, when you say greens, what does that mean? Is that
So, well, I don't remember my mom eating the turnip greens or the mustard greens, but in Alabama, there's a big, in other parts of the South and Mississippi, there's the turnip greens, mustard greens, collard greens, those type of things that get cooked down and stewed. So Leah Chase's recipe is the gumbo zerbs, and so she made it with had to have an odd number of greens in it. And it was usually made on Holy Thursday before everybody had to fast, and it had like collard greens, mustard greens, turnip, carrot tops, radish tops, pepper grass.
wow?
What else was there? A bunch of different some cabbage and some lettuce actually, and it was cooked down, and you ground it up into in a meat grinder, and it doesn't look very appetizing. But then the meats were like things like brisket, chorizo, the more Spanish influenced sausages in New Orleans. I guess more of a Creole sausage.
Yep.
And there's another meat in there, and it was I think it's more of a beef stock, and so it's totally different than what anybody else would recognize as a gumbo. But if you look back in the old days, the Times Picayune cookbook, like we were talking about last week, they would have recipes going back that far with this type of recipe, and even up in the river parishes, they call it more like gumbo vert. And some of that actually just was more of a gumbo they would serve. Of course, I say during Lent, but all Fridays before Vatican II were meatless Fridays. So those would sometimes be just a vegetarian gumbo, if you will. So some of them have meat, some don't. But anyway, most people have since if they're real big into the Food Network in New Orleans and stuff, and Leah Chase, they'll probably know that or have tried it. I made it one time, and I think I'll have to send you the video to it. It's actually pretty good. It's time consuming, but it's not what I don't really care for greens, but I liked it in this case. So for what that's worth.
Okay.
All right, so this other odd type of gumbo is, what is gumbo shoe, CHOU, made of? It's not made of an SHOE. It's Is it A, cabbage, B, raccoon, or C, tripe?
Oh God.
And remember, audience members, you can tune into, or you can chime in if you know the answer.
Light flying.
If Ben's still there, I wonder if Ben would know.
I don't know if he is or not. We do have
We got 4 people watching,
at
least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do. Okay, cool.
Of course, and one of them may be me and your wife, but the other.
So it's either cabbage, raccoon, or what was the other one?
Tripe. You familiar with tripe?
Isn't that a fish?
No, it's a. It does sound like a fish, but it's this. It's like this the honeycomb stomach of a cow. It's it's actually fairly popular down parts of Louisiana and Latin American countries, but it's not tripe.
Your
I'll tell you
face
that.
does not make it look appetizing at all.
Well, I'm not real fond of the honeycomb shape. Some of my mom's cousins have cooked it, and one of my uncles on her side likes it a lot. I think it's kind of chewy, from what I understand. Some people say it's got a good taste.
Nope.
I will try it one time. I'm not sure. Beer may have to be involved in my case, but but right now, but it's not gumbo shoe. It's leaves you 2 choices: cabbage or raccoon.
Ben's got a comment here.
Oh, okay.
I gotta put it up for everybody to see.
Oh, you won't be exiled to Washington.
What, you don't like the snow?
Jeremy will help you out. He knows where to get some local stuff there. Well, some Louisiana stuff there.
Yeah. Gosh, I this, I've never heard this term before. I want to say raccoon,
Ben, if you want,
but it's like, I don't know.
The Cajun term for raccoon, which was actually off of the Native American terms. Yeah, Ben gave you a lifeline there.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Cabbage.
Yeah. That's what you said before. But the Louisiana term, or French Louisiana term, is chaoui for raccoon. So it's very similar in spelling, but they use the Native American term because of the fact that there were no raccoons in Europe, so the French did not know what they were.
Oh yeah.
And I think like what you have, Cat Island out off the coast. I think it's off of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Or maybe off of Alabama. Anyway, I think it was named that because they saw all those raccoons out there and they thought they were cats. That's the story I heard in history class here. But good job, Ben.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I think Boudreaux has something to say about that too.
Oh, I love you like a pig loves corn.
Okay.
So, but gumbo shoe is also one of those, like I said, it's an odd type of gumbo, and it's actually an old Creole recipe, and it was even found in the 1878 Bay, it's called Bay City or Gulf City cookbook here in Mobile. And it's basically you take your cabbage and you smother it down and you cook it. I think that one's in beef broth, and I can't remember if it's just sausage. And what's odd about it is that it actually has like milk, kind of you have the roux and milk in it. And I have my other grandmother's recipe for it, and I'd have a video on that. And I was skeptical when I made it the first time because I thought, what about putting milk in this thing? But believe it or not, it was very good. Now, I would not really put it next to in the same category as a chicken andouille or a seafood gumbo.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a smothered cabbage type dish.
Okay.
It's a very good dish, but because does have the mantle of gumbo in this title. I'll go with that one.
Okay.
All right, so who invented a dish called Death by Gumbo? A. John Besh. B. Alec Naaman, who's a Mobile chef or caterer. Or C. John Foles.
Death by
Gumbo.
Isn't John Besh like the musician, singer, or
No, he had like 9 restaurants, the Besh Group and stuff in New Orleans. He kind of strayed a little bit in some of his behavioral habits, and so he's kind of.
so it's got to be him. It's got to be him.
No, actually, you would have guessed if you would have gone with my mentor.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Chef
John
Foles?
Foles has got this.
Death by
I've never
Gumbo.
made this one yet, but this is an interesting recipe. I think he told the story where he had put that yellow book we talked about last week, The Evolution of Cajun and
Yeah.
Creole Cooking,
Yeah.
out in '89, and I think it was a food writer, Craig Claiborne, told him there's no more evolution or nothing's changed in Cajun and Creole cooking. So he challenged John to come up with a recipe. So what John did is basically took a deconstructed gumbo, and he took quail and deboned it, and then he seasoned it. And then inside the quail, I think it's an oyster, it's a piece of andouille, and I can't remember if it's some rice and it's kind of not really sewn up, but maybe stuck together with like toothpicks. And you cook it, and then meanwhile you take your quail bones and your Trinity and your roux, and you make your gumbo without the meat in it. You put your stock and your Trinity.
Mhm.
You strain all that, and so then when they come to serve you at the table, they put that quail in the middle of the bowl, and they'll take a ladle of the gumbo and put it on top, or the broth. And then when you break into it, all of a sudden the rice and the sausage and the oysters come out, and so now all of a sudden you've got a reconstituted, if you will, gumbo. So I've seen videos of it. It looks really good. So I don't know if I'll may try that someday when I have like a full weekend to do it.
There's a dish in Japanese cuisine that has something like that, like where you just kind of break in, and then it.
Yeah.
And of course, my wife. Now, you know what? I'm gonna get her on the show one of these days. I got another microphone here, so I'm gonna have to get her on the show, and lend her Japanese culinary skills to the Cajun side of the family. Okay,
That'd be
so
cool.
let's where are we at? Number 8,
So
10.
let's see. That might be 10. And I got 2 more. of
Okay.
These. All right. So, what is the earliest date gumbo has been cited in writing? I didn't mention this, but see if you can guess. A, 1699, B, 1722, or C, 1764. So, given your Jesuit history and the classes that you took, can you think of any of those dates that would
Give
be
me
a
the dates
likely
again.
candidate for
Give me the dates.
1699,
Okay.
1722, or 1764?
I don't think it's 1699, but I mean, you said during the show
Mhm.
that it first appeared in writing. What was the
Right before the Cajuns arrived.
right before the Cajuns arrived, and our family got there in the late 1600s.
Ben's got an answer, but it's not the right answer.
So it's got to be the 17. What was this? The later date?
64,
1764.
1764.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you credit on that one. So 1764 is when it was I think the woman was Gwendolyn Midlow Hall. She was a historian, and she was actually doing some writing on like slavery and some early slave records. And there was like an interrogation of a couple of slaves, and it was from 1764. And it mentioned that when they caught them, they had they were eating a gumbo, but it was spelled Gombeux or something like that, or GOM
Of course.
instead. But anyway, yeah. So that was what it was kind of like a footnote in her work that many people didn't even notice until somebody was doing some other research, and all of a sudden it's like, because everybody thought it would be more of a Cajun dish, and then when you have it there, and even though you probably had trickling in of the Acadians prior to 1765, the big influx to make a movement like gumbo, I think would have had to have been prior to that date.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of, like I said, that's why I kind of point to it as still being more Creole than Cajun.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
So the last one is, what famous smoked meat used in gumbos comes from the German Acadian coast, aka river parishes? A. Tasso, B. Boudin, or C. Andouille? Smoked meat.
I don't think I've ever had a gumbo with tasso in it. Red beans and rice.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's got to be andouille.
You're correct.
Okay.
I was about to say, your ancestors are they're rooting for you there. I mean, they're like, come on, Jeremy.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's like I don't ever recall having tasso in gumbo, and then boudin has. I mean, we just had that episode on boudin. Boudin was down the road. That was
right.
Certainly as it exists today, it has definitely evolved. So
exactly.
Okay.
And what the people will tell you is like the andouille is that if you had French andouille, it's really like the pig, casings wrapped inside of each other several times, and it's really not very pleasant to eat. But the andouille, or as our ancestors called andouille, was more of a German sausage with the chunks of the pork and the salt, black pepper, cayenne, and garlic, and just smoked over pecan wood, corn cobs, and sugar cane, and that's what was used to flavor the meats and such.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think you got 10 out of 12. That's not too bad.
It's not bad. I mean, that's not. What's that? That puts me in a solid B score, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, you could definitely, you can talk gumbo to people, and they'll know that you got the credentials for it.
I certainly sure as hell know how to eat it, and so I know what I like there. That's one of the things I love about this show, is that unlike my technology stuff that I do, this is almost every show has included food in it, except for last week's show, which was cooking through cookbooks. Which actually, when I look at in terms of the popularity, there's sure as shit. I mean, people, I honestly don't think that there is a single region within the United States that has that many cookbooks concentrated in such a small area that is dedicated to that culinary style. Or, well, there's a multitude of styles, but the fact that you have, what did you say? 80?
Well, I said 85 plus, but I shared my list with Ben actually earlier today, and I realized it had 88 on there.
Okay.
And I actually saw another one I left off the list, so I think I'm closer to 90.
Right, and that's books you know of.
That's right. That's books and I probably know of 120, but I only own 90.
Some people collect, thimbles from World's Fairs, and other people collect cookbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm sure if my kids don't want them, I'm sure I'll donate it to some library one day or something.
Well, Ben seems to think you have a good start. So
yeah. Thank you, Ben.
How
did you do on the quiz, Ben?
Yeah. Did you score yourself? Be kind of fun.
I know you're an honest guy, so. But yeah, so like I said, hopefully, and people who are watching now or in the replay will hopefully find that interesting and be inquisitive about it, because I think you and I have seen and even talked amongst ourselves that there's always, the the people that we see on Facebook may not always be the best representation of a sample set of of knowledge base for certain things.
Yeah.
And so, what you'll oftentimes see are these gumbo arguments or gumbo wars, if you will.
Yeah.
Tomatoes or no tomatoes, potato salad or no potato salad, boiled eggs or no boiled eggs, and of course, okra or no okra. And so, what you have to really do is study it and figure it out. That, as you alluded to, there's all these different recipes, and there's all the different subregions,
Right.
and so, in the gumbo we just had, I would not put tomato in there because to me, there's no need to put tomato, and that's not a. But with your okras, with you talking about how I could detect your fondness for okra when you were talking about it earlier. That how is it described? Mucilaginous, slimy,
Mucus.
Mucusy would be the way, and so that which gives it its thickening properties. But
yeah, but it's
sometimes
slimy
too
as
much
hell.
is too much.
And, there's an interesting there's a Japanese dish and I'm sorry I keep referencing Japan
That's
because
fine.
that's my only other frame of reference, but they eat fermented soybeans, which have a viscous consistency around them, right? So as they break down, as they ferment, it looks like you have a bad case of the flu.
Okay.
it's pretty awful. Now, my daughter, who was not into that stuff, she's gotten over the sliminess of the texture, and they even put in Japan, they'll put raw egg in there and mix that in. I'm like, oh my God, you're just making it worse, But it's it's called natto, and if
Yeah, you saw Ben had asked that question.
Yeah, natto. Yeah, ugh. Yeah. That is when they crack open the natto boxes or the packages from the store.
Yeah,
I get out of the room. I just can't take it, and I feel like my palate's expanded as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
This is just and maybe someday when I feel adventurous, I'll tackle that. But to be honest with you, I got a lot of other things to tackle. As far as I don't think I've ever had a squirrel dish or a raccoon dish, yet. And I know that as far as I can tell, there's just looking at the videos from Chef Vols's boucherie. It's like, okay, I got a lot to taste, and there's parts of the pig that I never had before, so it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if I can do the pickled pig's feet and the pickled pig's lips. I know there's some people that do that.
I haven't done that yet either. Like I said, if I had certain beverages in me, I might. But there seems like, to your point earlier, there's so many other good things to try that it would have to be down on the list. But to your point, so I know I've had squirrel at least once. Somebody gave me some squirrel jerky at work back many years ago, but it was good.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe somebody gave me some recently. I can't remember. I was trying to think of what it was in the form. Oh, it was jerky. I think it was squirrel jerky or rabbit duck jerky. That's what he had. But even before I did the boucheries, one of our coworkers in Alabama brought in a roasted coon, or I guess it was more baked coon, and it was traditionally served with sweet potatoes. And one of my coworkers, who's passed away since, he was telling me that he doesn't eat coon unless he knows a person knows how to make it. this guy, this coworker, John Henry, he said John Henry knows how to make it. So John Henry brought in a big pan of it one day, and I was like, well, you know what? If I'm going to try it, I'm going to try it from John Henry first because I trust my friend Ricky, and Ricky told me John Henry's good at it. So he brought it in. And quite honestly, it wasn't bad. It reminded me of pot roast.
Huh.
It's a little greasy, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like pot roast. And so I got a little bit. And then when we did the boucherie, it was the second year. Chef Foles asked me to lead the coon and rooster stew table. And now, as you talked about earlier about the prepping in the kitchen, the nice things about his boucheries are the fact that they've taken all that into account. And so
Right.
they had already taken the raccoon. There's like 5 glands you got to watch out that you don't cut into when you're prepping it, and they smoked it. And so we had a bag of smoked coon meat, and then
Oh,
a bag of smoked rooster, and we put our roux together. And I was with a chef from Loyola, a chef from Tulane, another home cook, and another woman who had worked in some kitchens. And then we put all the stuff together and we tasted it. We went back and forth, and we ended up with a really good dish, in my opinion. I'm gonna say it's a little bit better than the other ones I've had from other people in the last couple of years. But so I was really pleasantly surprised with that. And then I'm trying to think of anything else exotic that I've eaten like that. But
Nutria?
anyway, no, I haven't had Nutria, but Spuddy, who we talked about,
Yeah.
has I told you that I could never find the episode where he made Nutria on Dewey for that TV show.
Yeah.
And there's another. In fact, if you go watch, I know you've been watching Bayou Wild.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of episodes with this chef. I think his name's Philippe. He tries to take invasive species and encourages people to eat it. And so one of the things he has is like nutria recipes. That's one cookbook I don't have yet. Is his invasive species, like the different
Does he
the
include
apple
the Florida
snails and such.
boa constrictor?
No, I think he might have been. I don't know what he's got in there, honestly. Don Dubuque and them didn't really talk about that, but people who eat nutria say that it's really good because it's basically they're vegetarians. You just have to, once again, you have to know how to clean them and cut them
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. And avoid the teeth.
But yeah,
Those things.
start on the other end.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Well, this was fun. This was definitely fun, and satisfying too. It as far as like, us just having the ability. I was actually, when I looked at the instructions, because we waited until this morning to do anything. I looked at the instructions and I'm going, I can't be this easy, and
Yeah.
it was. It was that
Yeah.
easy, and that's the part that, because when you're getting taught how to make gumbo the traditional way, there's all these steps that go into it, and that is the traditional way. But with modern technology or whatever you want to call it, hell, we should get Nancy on the show and talk to her, because I'd be really
Yeah.
curious to see how. I want to know how they go through the dehydration process, so that, how do they know, like, is it a 1-to-1 ratio? Or, I mean, some vegetables have more water content than other vegetables. And so how do you determine what's the right ratio of dehydrated to rehydrated or reconstituted, Trinity vegetables? And, the fact that, didn't need to put oil in it. Didn't need to.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus. It was so easy. It was so easy, and
Yeah.
so I'm stoked. I'm ready to hop on Amazon after this and get some more of it.
I was kind of thinking back about, it was a couple of years back. I was talking to your dad on text, and he wanted to make turkey andouille gumbo.
Mhm.
And so I had sent him a recipe, and I asked him a couple of days after, said, how'd it turn out? He goes, well, he got afraid when he was making his roux. He didn't let it get dark enough. So his turned out lighter than So yeah, maybe send them a box to try.
The foolproof way, just here
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, I think a lot of times people are. In fact, my coworker, who I gave her the chicken andouille gumbo recipe that I've been using, and she wanted to do it with okra, and she and I talked a little bit, and she told me that she ended up, her family enjoyed it, and her mother enjoyed it, and she said she didn't have any left. And so, anyway, what was interesting is that I had even suggested, okay, well, if you're not comfortable making a roux, you can get these jarred roux that are pretty good. In fact, gumbo winners and aficionados who compete in these big competitions, there's no shame in that,
Right.
because they will use it because, like you're saying, there's the time factor and the consistency factor.
Consistency, yeah. You know your
And
your
so,
finished product's going to be. You really
right.
do.
So, anyway, I had suggested she did that, but she actually made hers from scratch. And I applauded her because I said, and a woman did the same thing on one of the pages here in Louisiana. She made her first gumbo and she did it from scratch. Her roux could have been darker.
Mm-hmm.
If you try that, I applaud you because that's, it may not come out right, but that's the only way you're going to learn is to try.
That's right. That's right.
So
And that's how you became the gumbo historian. You know your stuff.
if that and my waistline, increased waistline, to show for it.
Yeah. There's. Oh, you know what? I did want to report back. I don't know if I told you, but going back to our pocket muffalata show and the discussion around adding mayo to the muffalata, which I kind of had a problem with just because, from an approach standpoint. I don't, the only time I really eat mayo straight, or when it's where it can really show up as a component, is with roast beef po' boys. I'll do it on roast beef po', and it's to die for. It's really good. We cannot get Blue Plate up here, but we can get Hellman's. So that's the best I can do. Now, I've tried. There's a Japanese mayonnaise that's not too cheap, but it's a different flavor profile than American mayonnaise. It's still really good. Matter of fact, just had some the other night. It's part of like a fried chicken sandwich. It was fried chicken with a kind of a sugar soy sauce, and then this Japanese mayo. It was really nice. So I've tried to make like the muffalata. I wanted to make a spicy version of it, so I took my base recipe of the clone of the Popeyes spicy mayo recipe. I took that and then I added some other stuff to it, added some heat to it, and then I put it on the. I'm trying to do. Did I do a chipotle? No, I think I just went straight to the ghost pepper olive salad.
Yeah.
And it had kick to it for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm necessarily a fan of putting that mayo on the muffalata. It just seems like it's starting to get too muddied down now. There's just too many flavors going on, and so I maybe if I dialed it back to like to the more, like whoops, like this, the traditional olive salad, right? Maybe if I did that, it would be better than trying to throw the ghost pepper at it. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, that's I've been wanting to try to do something with the mayo because I know they make a mayo too, and I think it would be good. But to your point, I don't know whether I would put it in that application on muffalata either. Maybe on something else. But to your point on the ghost peppers too, I had shared with, so some of my coworkers weren't there when I had made the
Hmm.
jalapeno olive salad dip,
Right.
and so I was telling them about it last Monday or Tuesday, and they were kind of, they were like, David, come on, man, you kind of let us down because, So I told them, I said, do you like, do you like olives? And they said, yeah. So, well, do you like ghost peppers? Yeah. So, all right. So I started telling them I'm gonna make this next one for them next week with the ghost peppers. And one of them was like, "Man, that just sounds good by itself." So since I know that I only need like half a jar for that recipe, I scooped some out and brought it to them to try, and they ate it just straight. And they were like, I mean, one guy's looking it up, and I thought he may have even ordered some for all I know from Amazon. So, um, like I said, I mean, that's one of the things that if for folks who are watching, and if you have any products that you'd like us to try, we're definitely into uh, blowing the trumpets on them and sharing with people,
Yeah.
not just online, but just in person and such.
Yeah.
That
Definitely.
because, like I said, I've enjoyed the opportunity to learn and try these new products that many of them I probably would not have tried just because of either mine's better or I just don't see the need for it. Nobody else in the family's going to eat it, but having the
Right.
opportunity to try it,
Right.
and yeah. So I'm looking forward to doing the dip with it because I know that at least from the heat standpoint, they may subdue it too much for them, but for myself, it may be just perfect with that balance of cream cheese.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
Definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to. I've got one more of each of the crew left, and
yeah,
then I've got three more of the Buscoli brand. Um,
yeah.
and then I don't have to hit them up for some more. But
Well, I'm gonna have to save mine until my brother gets down here in week after Christmas. So I know some of the family get-togethers. I know he's got all those boys that they'd probably like to try their hand at the hot stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. All
um,
right.
so it'll be you know try to get them into the Midwest, into Kansas. Maybe they'll have an interest there and come up with something that they can put in their barbecue or something with it.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I mean, it could. You could. The thing about this olive salad is that you could take it in so many different directions.
Yeah,
And you puree it and then add it in as kind of like a relish into
yeah,
like the Popeyes spicy mayo clone that I did.
hmm
I I had a little bit more heat to it than it called for, and I also used, instead of regular paprika, I used smoked paprika,
okay,
and that definitely added a characteristic to it that I liked. But it would make for a great like a burger sauce,
yeah,
So if you're doing burgers on the grill, make a great burger sauce. Eventually, I'll put the recipe online. I want to kind of fine tune it a little bit so that it's
yeah,
more consistent, but it's pretty close. And then we got some garlic fries the other night. So just Trader Joe's. Was it Trader Joe's? No, it was Kroger, which is, you know, I'm sure you can find garlic
something
fries.
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the grocery store, but they were just frozen. Tossed them in the air fryer,
yeah,
and we used that sauce as dipping sauce, and it was awesome, absolutely awesome. So,
yeah. Did I ask you if you ever tried the Wowee dipping sauce?
yeah, I have
Wowee.
it. I'm not a fan.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to. I've only tried it once or twice, but for things like the chicken,
Yeah,
like you're talking about. So, and that's for people, for your example there, as we talk about ways to gauge. I mean, if people are familiar with Wowee, then you can tell them that this is why you prefer the other one that you're working on better. Because I
yeah,
mean, I've tried it and it's like it's okay, but it's not like Rouse's has got a brand I wouldn't mind trying, and there's another sauce on something that we had that we were trying to get close to, and that wasn't quite it with Wowee, but
hmm. Yeah,
That's why I was just curious.
I think for me, I was expecting something like the Popeyes, the
Yeah.
spicy mayo, and yeah, it just wasn't my thing. I mean, I have almost a full bottle of it in the fridge now, and
Now they have the regular and the spicy.
I got the spicy. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
that just wasn't. Yeah, so I'm sorry if you're with Wowie. Maybe you can convince me otherwise, or maybe give us some tips on how to use it better, because it is what I tried it with, and I tried it on a chicken sandwich. It was nothing to write home about, So
Yeah. I mean, that's what, like I said, I would. I'm just interested to know because I'd seen it for years, and I think I tried it only because of the fact I think it was a Louisiana style Cajun restaurant in Bay St. Louis. So, it was still a lot of influence there.
Mhm.
And they had a sauce with, can't remember what we were eating, but, and so they call theirs yum yum sauce, but I mean, most of the yum yum sauce I'm familiar with is more Asian style. And so I could not, and it looked like the Wowie,
Mhm.
but it was close, but it still wasn't as good as what we had at the restaurant. So that's kind of, I think it was called Wowie. I mean, I think it was called Yum Yum. But anyway,
we're gonna have to definitely do a show on sauces.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things owning the restaurant is that people always ask for sauce. Always ask for sauce. I'm like, try it without the sauce. No, God, I need some dipping sauce. Fine. So we ended up having this this shelf of just sauces, and we made our own sauce. We actually did have a really good buffalo sauce that I miss, and I've tried to duplicate a couple of times, and I've seriously screwed it up. But it actually has it's got a little bit of Frank's Red Hot in it, but then it also has blue cheese and kind of the blue cheese dressing that's got the crumbles in it, and the Worcestershire sauce, and there's a few other things in there that are kind of as cayenne, of course. But anyway, we developed quite a few sauces, and just doing hell, we could probably just go to the store and get some chicken wings and come up with some sauces and mess around with that. That would be fun.
Because I had done and I sent you the jar of the pepper jelly, but the Bayou Wild sauce I came up with was basically the buffalo sauce, but I used my pepper jelly with that and made that for their they're called Bayou Wild shrimp, but it's like their bang bang shrimp or buffalo shrimp.
Okay, yeah.
I think I sent you that link on when I did that one. But I'll probably have to get you some more jelly in the future so you can experiment with it. I don't want you to have to save it for anything. Just to,
Yeah, I know. It's just, well, next week we are talking about nuts, specifically pecans. I got mine today, actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yours
I'll
should
have
be.
to see.
It came U.S. mail, so.
Okay.
And it came in a box about this size, and the
All right.
inside box is like.
Okay.
It's like that, but yeah, that's gonna be a fun one because that's maple syrup and
chili.
Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah, I'll have to brave getting to the mailbox because it's still raining right now. So I'll have to see if I got mine.
Let's see what it looks
I
like.
know, at least it's not snow.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's like, no.
And I guess next week will be kind of disjointed a little bit with the way we're going to have it set up too.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, we'll do our interview with the gal from the Louisiana Pecans. I kind of want to do a poll, like, how do you say pecan, and see how many people answer pecan, or this is probably the same people that say crayfish instead of crawfish.
Yeah.
But I I want to have fun with that. I just don't know if I'm gonna have enough time. I certainly don't want to go out on the streets of Seattle and start
In the
asking
snow.
people questions. I'll probably get the shit kicked out of me by some dude that's he's in the middle of the street in the crosswalk taking a dump and I'm disturbing him. So, or he's overdosing on, meth or something like that. So, um, that's, you laugh, but it's, it's kind of, unfortunately, they make all the medical, the EMT guys carry Narcan here because
Yeah.
people shoot up and regularly OD out just out in the street. But anyway, so I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go out. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll stay in the suburbs and
Yeah, I was about to say, just stay in the suburbs.
yeah.
And yes, Ben asked the question: the pepper jelly recipes in that plantation cookbook.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got to put that on there just so that is recorded to video.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think what I'm gonna do. So tomorrow is the beginning of Vlogmas, which is a cutesy term for narcissism in the vlogger community. In that between December 1st and December 25th, you daily vlog about what you're doing for Christmas preparations. I ain't doing that because I'm not doing it daily. I mean, it's just I'm not. So, but one of the things that Ecamm, again, the software we're using to produce the show, they put a challenge together, and week one's challenge is to organize your studio. So, and I've got I got a bunch of crap up here, and I kind of want to reset for the new year and have like a clean shelf and start building up stuff. This is really just a few months worth of stuff up here, but eventually I want to get to eating it instead of just showing it on the show. But I think what I'll do next Saturday, because you're going to be gone, I'll probably end up just walking people through the studio and saying went from this to this, because right now, especially after adding this mixer board, which I probably, I can bring up this. And let's see. Here I am. But there's the board right there. So this is how I'm controlling all the audio now on the show, is from this. And you can see I haven't hooked up all the cables yet. That's already what's streaming off the back of it. So this and there's just, I mean, if people get if they get triggered by seeing a messy cable setup, they're gonna need to see a therapist after they look at the back of my studio. So and really I like neatness, I like cleanliness, but at the same time, I'm constantly moving stuff around and trying to get things situated exactly like I want. So like where I'm sitting right now in the studio is kind of the perfect spot because I've got my workstation off to my left, and that's where I do all the video editing and all the sound design and everything. And then I drop it into the studio section, which is here, where I'm sitting. So it actually works out nicely. I've got like two little cubby holes, but it's kind of like two L's, kind of coming together like this. And I've got my desk and then some stuff. And anyway, it just needs I need to stop adding stuff and stop removing stuff, or if I think something's going to necessarily be permanent, then I can strap it down, and if something's going to be less permanent, maybe I have a less permanent cable trunk that I can easily disassemble and pull the cable out and then wrap it back up. I don't know, I'm still thinking about that one, but I'll be going live with that tomorrow, kind of just give people a preview of what I've got going on next week as far as that goes. So it's not necessarily Cajun food or Cajun culture or Cajun family related. It's more about, one of the critical elements of how this show is put together. But it's
Yeah.
still going to be, it'll be fun. So,
Yeah, because I mean that's the command center there where you're at. Because I
it
mean,
is.
I've got my little satellite out here. It's not nearly complex like that. I mean, and
Yeah, we're
and
talking
nobody
about
wants to
these
see.
live on the ground.
Yeah. So now I will try to get some. I've been working on getting some other backgrounds to hang on my little portable wall back there to enhance the Louisiana feel.
Yeah.
So I'll try to unveil those over the next several episodes. And but yeah, it does make me think as I look around the messy room that I'm in, that there are things I need to probably get cleaned up. And even Ben says I'm in Southern Command.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got this
And,
for you, Ben. You'll know what that is.
you were Jeremy's been waiting to play that all day. You made his
EIB
day,
Southern
man.
Command.
But yeah, I feel like I'm more probably in like a duck blind or something than I am in a command center here. But yeah, there's some things, and hopefully as we keep going, I'll try to coordinate better, and it still probably won't ever be where I pull back the veil on what I got.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, sometimes there's little secrets that you can only know if you go on a studio tour, an official studio tour, or as Ben put it,
Right.
the Southern Command
Right.
studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, hey, as long as the significant other is willing to entertain your turning that room into what it's been turned into, then
That's why she's getting a laptop for Christmas.
Oh, I see. It's bright. No, it's just out of the niceness of your heart.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm choking on my own.
But anyway, yeah.
So we'll regroup later in the week and chit chat with the nuts people, and then we'll still have our regular show. It'll be like you're here but you're not here, all right?
Yeah.
And that allows me to just kind of get the rest of the studio ready to talk about for the after show. So it'll actually work out fine. I've done that before.
Oh, yeah.
So it's no big deal.
I mean, like I said, I'm looking forward to trying the product and hearing about it from the folks. And because this will cover a different part of the state than we've been dealing with before. And so that'll be interesting to find out about. And that's one of the things I think you and I have talked about. We hope to continue to do because we know that there's, just like we talk about cookbooks, there's got to be so many products in the state of Louisiana. And the other thing we may want to talk about one day is since we seem to be doing a lot of food centric anyway, is just the program that they have on like certified Cajun or certified Louisiana. There are certain rigorous elements that you've got to go through.
Yep. And you have to get recertified, I think, every 2 years.
Yeah. And so the thing is, like here in Alabama and Mobile area, I've got some friends that they make an excellent, I wouldn't really call it a Cajun seasoning, but he makes an excellent seasoning. And another family they make their own andouille, and they are very good products. The technique that they use with the andouille is slightly different than what you do in river parishes, and it's maybe a little higher fat to meat, more sausage content. But it's when you cook it and render it and put it in products, it's better than a lot of the mass marketed andouilles that I've gotten from Louisiana.
Yeah.
But they can't, as good as those products are, they can't qualify for a certified Cajun or
yeah.
certified Louisiana
Yep.
because they're not in the state.
That's right.
And so, I know at one point you were talking, maybe at some point, if we feel like we want to delve down the coast, if you will, or in the area, there may be some things we can introduce folks to that you maybe get them. They have a southern flavor, maybe not always a Louisiana flavor, but we'll see. But I think we got plenty of Louisiana products and items to talk about before that,
And Mardi Gras is
and
going to
hopefully
be
we'll,
right around the corner.
yeah, and so a lot of things lend themselves well to the foods, and I guess that's the other thing. Maybe where we could do that in the future is for people who are trying to make these dishes either from scratch or with a mix, but they don't have the double D sausage, or they don't have I don't know anybody who couldn't get a brand of Cajun Creole from Louisiana spice mix, but that would just be something. Maybe, okay, let's see, how would we make this dish with local ingredients here?
Right.
And we could probably try to find things that are similar. But once again, that's I think down the road. We got a lot of brainstorming we've been working on.
Oh yeah.
I think as long as it keeps we have the availability, we'll keep doing it, and hopefully more people enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this segment of the show. Ben, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank
and
you, Ben.
Your commentary. Note, you do not have to move to Washington State. You are exempt. Even though we didn't get a chance to see your answers, we'll take your word at it. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And be at it again with the Pecan Show. So until then, David, you have yourself a good week.
You too, Jeremy.
And we'll catch everybody on the flip side.
All right.
All right. Take care.